This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation, Larry Burns.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, and welcome to Caring for Kids. I'm your host, Larry Burns. We've got a great show planned for you tonight, discussing a variety of issues impacting children locally, regionally, and nationally. We're first going to be joined with Tarence Wheeler. Tarence is the Director of Corporate and Community Affairs at River Rouge School District. Chris Kelly, the Foundation's Vice President of Development. And Tom Wilson, President and Chief Executive Officer of Olympia Entertainment. It's all coming up next on Caring for Kids, right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760, WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.
Tarence Wheeler is the Director of Corporate and Community Affairs for the River Rouge School District. He has over 20 years of experience in community relations and philanthropic activities. Tarence is very involved with giving back, especially in the community. He created the All-Star Give Back organization to help alleviate non-academic barriers for children and their families. This year's focus was called the Hygiene Campaign. He also serves on various boards, including Vanguard Community Development Corporation, Detroit Public Television, and the Salvation Army Board. He received his Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Detroit Mercy. Tarence, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Hey, Larry, thanks for having me.
We're delighted that you're here. We met maybe a month ago and had a chance to visit the River Rouge High School and was so impressed with you and your colleagues. Just had to have you on the show.
I appreciate it.
Before we start about that, we'd like to give our listeners a little bit of background about our guests. I know that you grew up in Detroit, and basketball was an important part of your life, and so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I grew up in Detroit, over on Vinewood in Michigan. Had the honor and privilege to play at Southwestern High School for the great Perry Watson, who went on to coach at University of Michigan and also was the head coach at University of Detroit Mercy. But going to this high school, you had, at that time, Antoine Joubert, who was the #1 player in the country. So Antoine Joubert in 1983 was LeBron James with a Jerry curl.
Right.
He was bigger. He was great. He was a great player. But what I saw in that school was kids who were getting opportunities to go to college, and not just talking about basketball. We got life skills before we even picked up a basketball. It was one of the best choices that my mother made at that particular moment to kind of change the trajectory of my life. When you go into a school for higher learning and you have a coach that is not just talking about basketball, but winning in the game of life.
Right.
He talked about a lot of principles, and misery loves his company, and what you do off the court controls what you do on the court. But more importantly, 98% of his players graduated from college. When you get that opportunity, you have to seize that moment.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we were a highly ranked high school team in the country, and we had players going all over the place. I went to Arizona State. We had Anderson Hunt going to UNLV, Lauren Clyburn at Purdue. So guys were getting major opportunities, but you have to be prepared to walk into that moment.
Right.
And when you go to college, it's really about time management. And I learned that at an early age in high school. So all the things that he taught us in high school made college very easy.
Yes, and you've carried on that tradition,
Yes.
I know, and knowing you for the short time that I have. And so how did you end up at River Rouge at the school district there?
So So the superintendent, Derek Coleman, grew up a block away from me on Vinewood and Hancock. And so he was working at DPS as assistant soup under Dr. Connie Calloway. Mayor Bean decided to run, Dave Bean at that time decided to run for the mayor office in the city of Detroit. And so we would collaborate on some different initiatives between the mayor's office and DPS. And so once Derek decided he was going to make a move from DPS, and Dave Bean decided he wasn't running again for re-election, Derek had ended up coming to a couple events that I had and says, man, I don't know why are we not working together? Why are we not trying to do this together and change the lives and the trajectory of young people? Because we were those kids. And lo and behold, took a little while, and things happen kind of the way they're supposed to happen.
Right, and so you're there. And so you have somewhat of a unique job title, at least from what I've seen in school districts, as Director of Community and Corporate Affairs for the school district. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about what that means, and more importantly, some of the things you're doing?
And so the title, first of all, let me say this, Larry, that salary and title is not your anointing. It has to be a passion. I'm a firm believer that you cannot be successful in something you don't love. And so, number one, I love young people.
Right.
And I know that I wouldn't be here had it not been for other folks standing in the gap for me. So my title is Director of Corporate and Community Affairs, which basically says barriers belong on freeway, not in education. We alleviate the non-academic barriers for our young people each and every day. Kids come into school with wounds that are seen and unseen. For example, a kid has a lot of trauma when the lights are cut off, when the gas is cut off, when I'm sitting and I'm eating on the floor. How do you help me? And so my job is to go out and build partnerships that help young people take the stress off of our young adults so they can just focus on education each and every day, because we don't have a moment, a minute, or an hour to waste in terms of getting this education. And so I go out and I partner with, whether it be an art van, whether it be a Best Buy, because we have washer and dryers in every school, whether it be partnering with DTE Foundation to provide panty liners and pads for our young ladies who that's a non-academic barrier.
Right.
People don't think about it. You walk past children every day pretending to see not to see their needs, when you know the need is great. How do we help young people?
Right.
How do we make sure we have empathetic care, ethical leadership, that you have the right adult in front of young people? The most expensive thing we do on a daily basis in this country is put the wrong adults in front of young people.
Right.
And so I go out and I try to make sure that our kids have access, because poverty is not just about money. It cuts off access to people that can help you. So that means if Larry says, I want to be a truck driver, I'm going to go out and build a relationship with a logistics company.
Right.
If Jill says she wants to go in media, I'm going to make sure that we can go visit WJR, Channel 4, Channel 7, so kids can have an opportunity to see what it's like to have a pathway out of poverty.
The pathway out of poverty. And education is clearly a pathway out of poverty. And so we're talking with Tarence Wheeler from River Rouge School District. And I mentioned when we started that we were at your high school a few weeks ago, and I spent 26 years in Toledo, and I was very involved in the Toledo Public Schools. And I spent a short time in Akron, was very involved with the Akron Public Schools, and LeBron James, actually, with some of the things that he's doing. So I've been in a lot of urban high schools, and when I walked into yours, I had a much different feel than most. Number one, the security level was pretty low, if any, and the kids were smiling, and they were, sort of running about in a positive way. And so can you tell us what you've done to create that environment? And then we'll talk a little bit about the clinic that I visited.
So, number one, there's absolutely no metal detectors in any of our 4 schools. Kids are going to school, they're not going to prison. Our security guards there, we have cameras. We have about 200 cameras throughout the high school. We have security presence, but it's not there to make you feel as though you're not wanted. This is an inviting atmosphere. We have to put kids in position that they can come and learn. This is a safe haven for our young people. We have kids coming from Canton, coming from Wall Lake, coming from Pontiac, Deep East Side. So if that kid is doing the best they can to get to you, then we have to do all we can to save these young people, put them in an environment that's conducive to learning. Kids want to learn. They have the resilience and perseverance that money can't buy. We have to extract that potential out of young people.
Excellent. And so the clinic we visited in partnership with Beaumont Health was very special too, and you brought in actually 3 students who've used the clinic. One was 2 were athletes, and one was in the band, and they were fine young people. And so tell us about that clinic.
The clinic is a lifesaver. I mean, obviously, 48218 in River Rouge is probably one of the most, if not the most polluted community in the country. And so our kids are coming from all over. They have asthmatic issues. And so if this clinic is not there, kids have seizures, kids have breathing and respiratory issues. This clinic allows them to come get service throughout the day. They never have education obstructed. You don't have to go to the emergency because you can go right on the first floor.
Right.
And you can deal with all the things that young people are dealing with, whether it be depression, whether it be low self-esteem, whether it be cyberbullying, all the trauma that kids go through every day. So we have to have loving and caring adults in all phases to affect that. And so that Beaumont Clinic, is a lifesaver, Larry. I mean, just the fact that kids can feel comfortable talking to a professional in a loving environment and not feel like you're judging me. Right. No, we don't need any saviors. We need more servants in our community.
Absolutely. And I got that feel right away, not only from the kids, but from from your staff there as well. And so we hope to partner, we the foundation hope to partner with Beaumont to help them continue or enhance your clinic to do even more. And so how can listeners help? Do you have any events coming up, and how else can they help?
So the next event we have for our community is called the All-Star Give Back. It's our turkey edition. And so we're scheduled to give away about 5,000 turkeys, with all the trimmings, macaroni and cheese, yams, peas, corn. But what it's really about, Larry, is wrapping your arms around the community, because the need is great. So this is our 19th year, my 19th year putting on the turkey drive. And we started at 11 a.m. on November 21st. And I guarantee you, when I pull up at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's already a line for an event that starts at 5 hours later.
Wow.
That shows you that the need is great. But we also provide health and human services. There's DTE, there's Wayne Metro to help folks with renter's assistance. But you'll have a Barbara McQuaid next to a Dave Gelios, who is the special agent in charge of the FBI, next to a Big Sean, next to an NBA player, an ex-NFL player, showing people that we are all stars, from the janitor to the CEO. We all have value, and we all care about our community.
Well, great, and I hope someday soon there's somebody from our Children's Hospital Michigan Foundation there.
We invite you.
All right, great. Well, Tarence, thank you, and we'll check in from time to time to make sure our listeners know the great things you're doing in River Rouge, and it's a great example of what can be done with passion, with commitment, and courage and talent. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Chris Kelly. Chris is the new Children's Hospital Michigan Foundation's Vice President of Development. That's going to happen when Caring for Kids continues here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everybody. Chris Kelly has over 28 years of experience in trust, estate, and philanthropic planning. Prior to joining the foundation recently, Chris served with the PNC Institutional Asset Management, Comerica Charitable Services Group, and Comerica Charitable Trust and Comerica Legacy Foundation. Chris is also a member of the Plan Giving Roundtable of Southeastern Michigan, the past president of the council board, and Leave a Legacy. So, Chris, not only welcome to Caring for Kids, but welcome to the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.
Thank you, Larry.
Glad that you're both here in the studio, but even more importantly, glad that you've joined the team. And so, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your professional background? I mentioned most recently PNC Institutional Asset Management, before that Comerica. So give us a little rundown of what you've been doing.
Well, I began my philanthropic career with Merrill Lynch Trust Company.
Okay.
I was with the Center for Philanthropy as one of their senior philanthropic advisors, and I had the pleasure of managing the original Merrill Lynch Community Foundation Alliance. And that was a program that set up bonds between community foundations across the country and Merrill Lynch. And it allowed us to utilize their donor fund programs to augment charitable planning for clients. It was a very productive opportunity for everyone, and it did a lot of wonderful things for philanthropy.
Yeah, it sounds like that Merrill Lynch and you were sort of a pioneer in what a lot of other organizations are now doing.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful opportunity, and it certainly gave me a background that I'm very proud of, because I still utilize a lot of what I learned, not just from the community foundations, but from donors. And I utilize those skills today.
Excellent. They will certainly help you as you develop your role with the foundation. And so PNC and Comerica, were you doing similar things with those organizations?
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to move back to Michigan to work with Comerica Charitable Services Group, again, in the philanthropic area, working with not only clients of Comerica Bank, but also with the Professional Trustee Alliance. So it was UBS, RBC, and a number of other large financial organizations. And what we did was work together as a team to achieve the philanthropic goals of clients and also the nonprofit organizations they wanted to benefit.
Great. And when we get back to that, we'll talk about how you think that will help you develop our plan giving program, our fundraising program at the foundation. But before I do that, I also wanted to talk a little bit about your background before Merrill Lynch. And I think people are going to be surprised that you were a former professional opera singer.
Yes, I was. I made my professional debut right here in Detroit with Michigan Opera Theater.
Okay.
And thanks to Dr. David D. Kira, I had the opportunity to sing with some phenomenal artists, world class, and Michigan Opera Theater is one of the very important things that we have right here in our own backyard.
And so how long did you do that for?
I sang professionally for about 10 years.
Wow. And then you got into banking.
And then I got into banking.
Doesn't every opera singer get into banking?
Every musician, one time or another, needs that day job. And I took my role with Merrill Lynch, and I noted that I was getting more and more interested in the philanthropic area because it was actually helping people achieve things that were important to them. And I actually was working on a charitable remainder trust that was going to benefit the Metropolitan Opera in New York.
Yep.
And I had a call in the office one day that I assumed was about this very large charitable remainder trust. And in fact, it was the Met asking if I could schedule an audition with Maestro Levine. And I was speaking in different conferences and donor seminars, and the Metropolitan said to me, well, Mr. Kelly, why don't you let us know when you think you can fit the Metropolitan into your schedule? And it was right then and there that I realized charitable planning was in my blood, and it was there to stay.
Got it. But, all the arts need philanthropic support, so I'm sure you helped many of them over the years. And so we're talking with Chris Kelly, the newly appointed Vice President of Development at our Children's Hospital Michigan Foundation. And so let's talk a little bit about your emerging role with the foundation, and what are some of the things that you think your past experiences with Merrill Lynch and Comerica and PNC will help you as you move forward with the foundation?
Well, the one thing I know what is very important in today's donor community is leveraging partnerships and the advice and support that a donor can receive, not just from the charitable organization, but from their financial advisor, their legal advisor, and their tax advisor. So I think one thing that I'm very excited to bring to my new role is the ability to interact with these professionals and help them achieve what they're looking to promote for their clients who are becoming donors of the foundation.
Excellent. And it's all about, as you said, partnerships with organizations we grant money to, organizations that we ask money to support our programs, and then as you mentioned, with financial advisors and with donors and people like yourself. So those relationships that you have developed over the last 25, 30 years certainly will continue to evolve and now be directed more toward what we're doing at the foundation.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that most people don't realize yet, and this show is a vehicle to get the word out, is that we are an independent foundation that has a great partnership with Children's Hospital of Michigan in places like Wayne State and now the University of Michigan Medical School and others. And so we're evolving into a community foundation for children. And so one of the things that I think you hope to do is to sort of get that message out there and let people know, particularly advisors and donors, that we have vehicles like donor-advised funds and things like that. Can you talk about some of those vehicles, in particular, what a donor-advised fund is?
Absolutely. That's what's so exciting about the direction that the foundation is taking, because we can utilize gifting opportunities like donor-advised funds to help donors organize their philanthropy and to have an even stronger impact on the issues that they feel are important to children today. Not just their health, but their lives in general. Donor funds allow us to create a vehicle to take in assets, whether it's cash, stock, whatever the donor is looking to contribute towards their philanthropy, and then utilize it later so that it puts the donor in the driver's seat. They can comfortably select the philanthropic goals that they want to achieve. And that's what good philanthropy is all about. Being able to take your time, study, ask questions, utilize all of the professional advice that the foundation can offer, as well as their own advisors, and really have that impact that we're looking to have. And the funds can be created for a term of years or in perpetuity, allowing mom and dad to set something up that their great-great-grandchildren may be involved with as well.
Absolutely.
And still have some guidance.
Yes, and advising. And with our foundation, much like a community foundation, they have the ability to support Children's Hospital, but they can also support other programs and organizations that benefit children that fall into our pillars of mission. And so that's something we really need to get the word out. And so one last question about somebody driving home or listening at home. What is the most used vehicle for a planned gift? I think I know the answer, but I'll ask you. What is the one that dominates everything else?
Well, if you'd asked me that question a few years ago, I would have said a testamentary gift or a gift under one's will, where they put their charitable gift in that document and it's taken care of for them after their passing. Today, donors are actually utilizing things like charitable gift annuity, charitable remainder trust or lead trust, as well as donor funds. Today's donor is organized and they love having an impact, and that's what we do at the foundation. We help them have their impact.
Excellent. You're going to lead that way for us, and we'll check in a few months to see how you're doing. That's Chris Kelly, the newly appointed Vice President of Development at our very own Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Tom Wilson. Tom is President and CEO of Olympia Entertainment. When Caring for Kids continues, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
Tom Wilson is the President and Chief Executive Officer at Olympia Entertainment, Detroit's premier marketer of sports and entertainment events. Tom has a long history of working in the sports and entertainment industry. Prior to joining Olympia Entertainment, he spent over 30 years with the Detroit Pistons and over 20 years as the President and CEO of Palace Sports and Entertainment Incorporated. Additionally, Tom gives back to the community on a regular basis. He has served as president of the Pistons Palace Foundation, has been a board member of the Boys Hope, Girls Hope, the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, and the Boy Scouts, the director of the Parks Program. He has been an honorary chair for the Salvation Army and Forgotten Harvest, active with the Boys Club and with March of Dimes. He's also on the board of trustees of Catch. That's a whole bunch of stuff. So, Tom, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Well, thank you, Larry. It's great to be on.
Appreciate it. And you and I have had a chance to work together over the years, and just delighted to be able to continue to work. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But, you know, as a graduate of Cass Tech, as a graduate of Wayne State University, native Detroiter, you've seen this city go through an awful lot of ups and downs. And so I know you're asked this a lot, but I have to ask you, how's it feel to be part of this tremendous growth and revitalization?
Well, I think that's one of the real treats of being part of this whole District Detroit development is that it sort of happened at a time. I mean, this whole thing, the sort of renaissance of Detroit happened out of the blue. And I think most people who are from here would have said, this is never going to happen in our lifetime. Much less happen as fast as it has. It's been a sea change since really Dan Gilbert came down with his entire crew from Quicken, and then started buying up buildings that were mostly empty, and now they're mostly all full, 80, 90, 100% full. And it brought vibrancy to the streets. It brought an energy. It brought a confidence when sort of melded into what the Ilitches were doing already. And I think now it's coming from so many different directions that it's fun to be a part of it. And then when we look at this District Detroit development and the arena, it's sort of the connective tissue between all the great things that are happening in downtown Detroit and the emergence of Midtown, or the comeback of Midtown. And so it's sort of extending all of Detroit. I'm actually standing, as we speak, looking out over downtown from the arena, and just this view, looking out the Comerica entrance to Little Caesars Arena, just this view makes you excited about what's going on. I'm watching people walk down the street. I'm watching cars go past what was largely a ghost town, 3 or 4 years ago. So it's really exciting for all of us.
Yeah, and you're playing such a big part in that. And you mentioned the district, and I think people are becoming familiar with the term. But what they're not, at least I don't think a lot of people are familiar with, how much more development is occurring and will occur that make up the district. And can you give our listeners maybe just an overview of if the Little Caesars Arena being completed, how much percentage-wise does that represent the district, and what do we have to look forward to?
Oh, with the arena, it's maybe 10%.
Yeah.
I mean, they've asked Chris, how do you feel about this? Chris Ilitch.
Right.
Do you feel like you've really accomplished something? He said, this is just the beginning.
Right.
I mean, we've got 50 blocks, and it's hard to get your arms around 50 blocks, but downtown Grand Rapids, which is a pretty thriving area, is about 46 blocks. So we're really talking about developing a city within a city, which couldn't happen probably anywhere else in the country, because where else are you going to find 50 blocks in a major American city? The
That's
good news
available.
is we did, and the bad news is we did. But now you're going to see, when you come down, if you came down every 3 months, you'd see one building complete and another building started. You'll see cranes down here for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years as one project after another begins construction and ends construction. And so I think that's kind of fun. It's almost like going to Disney and saying, what ride is next?
Right, exactly. And we're talking with Tom Wilson, President and Chief Executive Officer of Olympia Entertainment. And one of the things I'm watching every day as I drive around is the Ilitch building for the Wayne State College of Business, which will be bringing hundreds of students and faculty down there every day. That's got to be if it's not unique, it's going to be rare for a city like Detroit to have that right in the heart of all this going on.
It is, and it's exciting to watch it come to fruition. And they've had the topping off ceremony. They're putting the walls up as we speak, and this is scheduled to be open in the spring of 2018. So that seems like a long time away, but it's 6-7 months. You're going to have a school that's ready to function, and then, as you say, it'll be hundreds of kids down here every day and every night, because obviously when you get into grad school, the night school is as vibrant as the day school is. So it's all about really foot traffic down here and feet on the streets and everything like that. And when you see people down here, you see the smiles on their faces, you see them having fun, you see them living a life in downtown Detroit. It gives you the courage to develop more things, and I think that's important for everybody who's playing a part in this revitalization.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that's recently been announced is this newly created Detroit Sports Organization Corporation, and I know you're involved in that. I think you might be one of their founding board members. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Well, that's a pretty exciting concept. One of the things that we always had back in my Piston days, it seemed like there was always competition, let's say, between the downtown entities and the people out in the suburbs. And that's one of the sort of hidden beauties, I think, of the Pistons coming down here, is that for the first time that I can remember, and I've been doing this a long time, but for the first time I can remember, everybody is pulling for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so what this commission is, it's representatives from every sports team, along with major businesses like Ford Motor Company and General Motors, and people who have vested interests in the comeback of the city, all sort of working together on this committee to say, what can we do? How can we support this? So the Lions may be trying to get the NFL draft, but if they were able to secure that event, it would be at the Fox Theater, which is one of our properties, because they need something with 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 seats.
Right.
So they're sort of creating an event for themselves, which would take place at one of our venues. And by the same token, if they were able to secure at Ford Field the let's say the NCAA football championships, then they would have to have ancillary events. Those ancillary events could take place at the Fox Theater or at Little Caesars Arena. So we're all throwing our facilities in together. We're throwing our manpower in together. We're throwing in whatever connections or influences we might have to bring events to downtown Detroit, because everything that comes down here actually boosts all the rest of us. And so, as I say, we're all cheerleaders for each other, and that feels good.
Absolutely. And it's clearly the 1 + 1 = 5. Everybody working together, and so that's something that's going to have a major impact. And I've been to Little Caesars twice. I went for a hockey game with my friends Rob Kroll and Craig Shaw, and loved it, and walked around, had a great dinner. And then the next week we went to Paul McCartney. Paul was awesome. The arena was awesome. And I know you get asked this by your friends and everyone, but do you have a favorite part of the arena? Tom Wilson, do you have a favorite part?
There's so many things that are terrific. I think the part that I enjoy the most is just watching people who haven't been here before walk through the door the first time. I mean, we have so many videos of people coming through just going, "Oh my God!" They just look up, and this arena is like nothing that anybody's ever designed before, nothing anybody's ever seen before, and to sort of share it through fresh eyes, that kind of makes it all worthwhile. So it's been an amazing adventure, and it's going to be something that's going to change our city, and to be part of that is great. And I remember when Chris Illich had approached me when I was still out at the Palace, and he said, you've been very fortunate in your career, and you've had some success, blah blah blah. But how cool would it be to someday take your grandkids and walk down Woodward, a brand new Woodward Avenue, and say, I had a little something to do with this, and it's actually coming true, and it is fun, and it is rewarding for all of us that are involved.
Exactly, and we're very excited about our new partnership with the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation and the Red Wings, and the Red Wings Foundation. And I know the Red Wings Foundation does a lot of great things in the community. We're excited about our partnership with the Red Wings Wish Club, where people have an opportunity to recognize a birthday, an anniversary, or something special in their life, but also help children at the same time. And I know that your foundation is expanding and doing things, and I think our listeners need to know about what that foundation is doing for our community and for our kids.
Well, there's so many different ways that if you're doing it right, and this goes to any sports team, our players have so much influence, really probably an undue amount of influence over our young people. And so to the degree we're able to mobilize the players, and by that I simply mean make sure that they're out in the community, make sure that they're making a difference with youth groups and touching people at Children's Hospital and things like that on a regular basis, so that we can use those contacts to do good and use that influence they have to do the right thing. And along the way, we hope through different raffles and other things that we're able to do that we can raise some funds which allow us to really help people in the community. So again, we're uniquely placed, as are all sports teams, to really take advantage of the relationships that we have, the partnerships and sponsorships that we have, so that some of that money can be allocated to do good things, and then we all work on it together. And it's a combination of the Red Wings and ultimately the Tigers and everybody else, just trying to raise the bar down here for everyone.
Yeah, well, thank you for what you're doing, and we look forward to a long relationship with your foundation. So, Tom Wilson, thank you for all you're doing, and your colleagues making such a difference in Detroit and Michigan in general.
Well, thanks so much, Larry. It's been great talking to you.
All righty. We'll see each other soon at the arena.
I hope so.
All righty. Thanks a lot. That was Tom Wilson, President and CEO of Olympia Entertainment.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Well, welcome back. What a great show. Tom Wilson is always fun to interview. And Chris Kelly joining the foundation team to lead us in our development efforts and plan giving. And Tarence, a new friend in River Rouge, has got so much passion. So that's what this show is all about, is getting the word about these great people and these great programs in our city in partnerships with the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. A couple things. I have a little bit of time to update you on. The Fisher Building is going to be our new foundation home, moving in a couple days. And so if you're in the Fisher Building, we're on the second floor. Drop in and say hello. We're excited about that and joining the platform. And Peter Cummings, it just is a great time to be here. We also have our Leaders for Kids. That's our young professional group putting on their annual Cheers for Children. That is at the Garden Theater on December 9th. It's one of the best parties of the year, and better yet, it raises a lot of money for the foundation and for kids. We're very excited about our Little Champion of the Game program with Michigan State University and WJR as their flagship station. We're taking nominations. We still have a few games left. You just simply go to our website, children'shospitalmichiganfoundation.org. It's on the homepage. I think it's the first banner that pops up. Nominate a youngster that has overcome some obstacles in their life. And then all of those youngsters will be on the field in the stadium on November 18th at the Maryland game. Hopefully that'll be a real important game for the Spartans, who are off to a great start this season, as we all know. So that's Little Champion of the Game. And that partnership with MSU will continue through the basketball season, the men's basketball program that is. And so you'll hear more and more about us as the Spartans take the court in the near future. And I also want to remind people that starting in September, we now take this show and put it in print the following week in Crane's Detroit Business with our partner Ron Fournier. So they're not only tweeting during the show, which I love because they have a lot of followers, but also that following Monday you will see snippets of the interviews with photos of our guests. And so this show is really living much longer than the great hour that it's on WJR. And so those are some things that I wanted to let you know about. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight on Caring for Kids. I'm your host, Larry Burns. I'm honored to be president and CEO of Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. We're the proud sponsor of this program. And I hope you join us next time. And the next time will be Tuesday, November 28th. For more discussion about the health and wellness of children in Detroit, in Wayne County, in southeastern Michigan, and around the country. It's all on Caring for Kids, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Caring for Kids on WJR has been presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.